Right now here on the WHAS11 night team, you are looking at our Max HD radar futurecast. That means we are showing you the approach of the severe weather into Kentuckiana tomorrow. Again, this is looking ahead to Friday, timing out what you should expect. We do want to give you that updated timing right now on that. Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us. I'm Doug Proffitt. Chief Meteorologist Mallory Schnell is here with me. And Mallory, anything to worry about first tonight in the overnight hours?
The good news is we are going to stay quiet for the next several hours. By tomorrow morning, we could start to see some activity on the radar, but Max HD radar as it stands right now, all is dry. Really anything that tried to get going, any kind of shower or storm activity that was off to our west earlier this afternoon and evening, it encountered an environment that was not conducive for it to keep going. We were talking about us being capped today, where we had that warmer layer of air in the mid-levels, and that really prevented storms from continuing eastward as they were off to our west. You can see some activity up in Michigan at this hour. This is where all the severe weather is at this time. The rest of us enjoying some quiet time for now. Current temperatures remaining very warm, very elevated overnight. We topped out in the 80s this afternoon. We're still at 81 in Louisville, mid to upper 70s elsewhere. Of course, we have plenty of humidity, those dew points in the mid to upper 60s, and we're going to have a lot of fuel to tap into for tomorrow. So your hour by hour futurecast through much of the night tonight, we should stay mostly dry. Early tomorrow morning, we're talking as early as 4 or 5 a.m. we can start to have some scattered activity on the radar, and some of these storms could carry a small hail threat. But this will move out by lunchtime tomorrow, and then we have plenty of time to warm up ahead of the main severe weather event late tomorrow afternoon through tomorrow evening. And once again, we'll talk much more about the impacts expected. You can see a level 4 out of 5 on the severe weather outlook for Friday. I'll have those details coming up in just a bit, Doug.
Thank you, Mallory. What a way to end the week. Well, our top story here on the night team, if you've tried to get a real ID anytime recently anywhere around Louisville, you know you're going to be standing in lines, and we are talking long ones. But then came another new twist in Kentucky, the new law that now allows 15-year-olds to get their learner's permits to drive. So starting this Saturday, the state of Kentucky is opening several offices to help the 15-year-olds along and also allow you to get a license on the weekend. WHAS 11's Clarice Shaley and photojournalist Aspen Hester headed to Bowman Field, which has been hit hard by long lines.
It's a waste of time.
It's closing time at the Bowman Field Driver Licensing Regional Office, but now also in line, 15-year-olds.
Been here since noon today.
Excited 15-year-olds eager to drive, but they've inundated the lines. People in line outside of a still packed building.
And I have been here from 10 in the morning. And it's already 4.
Staying hours to get their real ID or new learner's permit.
I didn't think it would be that long.
I had to tell them that I cannot work today because I am here the whole day.
Congestion and wait times continue at this branch, and people tell me they think it's because of the state law changing the permit age eligibility from 16 in Kentucky to 15.
Kentucky's transportation cabinet has been working to alleviate these issues. They've partnered with Kentucky State Police to offer 1,500 testing appointments at 20 locations in the state. In now brand new Saturday hours, 14 offices are open for full license services from 8 in the morning to 4 p.m. this Saturday, May 17th, walk-ins only.
Yeah, definitely that would help. I think it's overcrowded here.
I hope so, yeah. I mean, it should, so we'll see.
In effort to ease the load on licensing offices, while the demand for real IDs will continue since the deadline has now passed. At Bowman Field, Clarice Shaley, WHAS 11 Night Team, on your side.
Now, up to 20 different offices across the state are going to be open. Again, all 4 Louisville offices will be open Saturday, and they'll accept walk-ins for full licensing services from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. To schedule an appointment for the written test at one of the 20 offices open this Saturday, head to our website, WHAS11.com. All new tonight, Kentucky Auditor Republican Allison Ball is suing the Beshear administration, saying that they are interfering with her investigation into the kinship bill. The kinship bill was a bipartisan bill passed in 2023 and signed by Governor Andy Beshear. Its aim is to keep kids out of foster care. However, it has to be enacted because Beshear says the legislature never funded it. Republicans, however, say the administration has all of the money they need to implement this bill. At a hearing on Tuesday of this week, the Cabinet for Health and Family Services asked for rate increases for their therapeutic foster care. Republican State Senator Julie Rocky Adams of Louisville says this shows the administration can implement the kinship bill.
This is a joke. The cabinet has full discretion to implement what they want to implement, as evidenced by what we have before us today. And the governor is not a dictator. He's not a king. He has to follow the law. And in this instance, he is not following the law.
In a lawsuit filed today, Allison Ball accusing the cabinet of refusing to hand over records. She launched an investigation in October to determine why the kinship bill has not yet been implemented and who's at fault. However, she says that investigation is now stalled due to issues working with the cabinet. The lawsuit asks the court to declare that the cabinet must hand over the files that Ball requests and that Governor Beshear must, quote, do what it takes to execute laws with the funding that he has. As more speculation grows about Andy Beshear possibly running for president in 2028, we asked Kentucky Senator Rand Paul for his thoughts about it today. Rand Paul, Republican of course, launched a run for the White House himself, but ended early in 2016. Here's what he told us today.
I think there will be a facade or an attempt to show that he's somehow not out there with the far left. But I think in the end, when people see his policies, and his policies are well known, I think people will see that his policies aren't the mainstream of Kentucky, but also aren't the mainstream of the country.
Andy Beshear has been speculated as one of the top Democrats to run for the White House in 2028. Since around the Kentucky Derby this year, Beshear has said on several TV and podcast appearances that it was something he would, quote, consider. Now, we asked his longtime campaign manager today for a response to Rand Paul. Andy Beshear has won 3 consecutive Kentucky elections, has a 68% approval rating, and is the most popular Democratic governor in the country. What is Rand Paul talking about? End quote. Well, Kentucky families say that they're relieved but skeptical after the state admits that they incorrectly denied special needs kids of Medicaid services. Certain children with special needs have been covered by the home and community-based waiver since last year, but when families went to reapply, they were denied. Kentucky's Medicaid office says they've discovered issues with a subcontractor. In a letter sent to families, state officials are assuring the services will be restored for parents like Trina Martin. The letter is providing some relief. However, she is still skeptical.
What happens at the end of this extension? Do they extend it if they haven't settled everything? Or are they going to still deny our appeal? And what happens next? I'm very skeptical.
Some moms have already appealed the decision. Today, the state's Medicaid office said those going through the appeal process will continue to receive services while it's all being resolved. New tonight, a Louisville Metro Corrections officer is charged with assault and official misconduct after he allegedly beat and tased an inmate at the jail. Court documents say Chase Branson was transporting an inmate to his holding cell in the back of the jail when Branson shoved the inmate into a metal door. The inmate was handcuffed with his hands behind his back when Branson allegedly shoved him. According to court documents, once inside the cell, the inmate was placed face down on the floor and restrained by several officers. Branson allegedly tased that inmate in his back several times. Court documents say the inmate was not resisting when he was shoved or when he was tased. The incident was captured on surveillance and several body cameras, according to court documents. Branson's expected to be in court in July. In a statement, the jail said they're fully cooperating with the investigation and that Branson is now on unpaid administrative leave. 39 days after historic flooding hits Kentucky, President Donald Trump has finally now approved Kentucky's expanded disaster request. Now, this request will allow people to receive reimbursement for their essential expenses and serious needs not covered by insurance or other forms of aid. Again, now approved by the president, retired firefighter Tommy Hedden lost everything in the floods. 39 days later, he has the disaster declaration, but wishes the help had come sooner.
Did you feel any better once you heard the news that it was approved?
Yeah, I do. I feel a little bit better, but it's still the unknown.
A FEMA spokesperson told us today they're working on opening disaster recovery centers in all affected counties like Nelson, LaRue, and Bullitt. And they expect to have 1 or 2 disaster recovery sites open by Saturday. Jefferson County would also likely be one of the very first. Well, America's oldest operating distillery Buffalo Trace in Franklin County, Kentucky is 90% cleaned up now after the historic April flooding hit them there in the Frankfort area. They say flood levels reached record heights at the distillery, wiping out 75% of their storefront merchandise and also possibly impacting getting close to some of the most famous bourbon barrels in the world.
To know that just a few weeks ago we would have been underwater here, and here we are, we've got it back, we're doing tours again, right, we're recovering.
Well, Buffalo Trace says this historic flood comes right after a $1 billion expansion project. That project also took on water, but has since been cleaned up. LG&E and Kentucky Utilities looking to raise your rates for the first time since November of 2020. They're hoping to get stronger and new equipment to withstand severe weather and power outages. To help lessen the impact, the utility companies will request to waive the $1.95 transaction fee applied to customers who pay cash at third-party locations. LG&E and KU say they will also request the Kentucky Public Service Commission to raise their total revenues on May 30th. If this is approved, the provider said it would likely not go into effect before January of 2026.